Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Washington County Personnel Committee. Will the committee please come to order? I have asked Justice Bill Usry to lead us in the prayer and the pledge. Will you stand with me, please?
Dear Lord, we are just grateful for the opportunity to be here to serve the county. We ask that you give us great wisdom tonight, and may your work be done. And we thank you for that. We ask that you be with our sheriff's department and all the people that are out there, the first responders, protect them and keep them safe as only you can. And we thank you for the great work they're doing for this county. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Justice Usry. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The agenda has been adopted. Okay. Our chairman's report has to do pretty much with the second item on our agenda, and that is the salary schedule proposal. And I want to say that this proposal is a collaborative effort by our HR director, Ms. Patty Burchett, Sydney Reynolds, our IT director, and Robert Voss, who works in the IT department under Director Reynolds. They will be presenting this proposal because this was a collaborative effort, and you have the developer, the programmer, and the researchers, and this is their brainchild, and we're very proud of the work that they've done. The objective of this plan is to organize all county positions based on similar job descriptions and equitable pay for work performed. The second objective of this compensation plan is to provide a systematic compensation procedure. We desire to utilize a fair and equitable compensation plan that will assist the county officials in recruiting, retaining, and rewarding a highly competent workforce. I'm enthusiastic about the proposal because it is seeking a better path. It's leading to a brighter future for all Washington County employees. But first of all, we do have new business, and it is a request from Judge Wood. It is a salary adjustment for our HR director. And the letter of justification is in your packet. Do I see Judge Wood? If you would, sir, I do have a question regarding the information. Ms. Burchett has worked diligently to improve the processes and the procedures within the departments, and she has worked diligently to streamline various processes throughout the county. She does bring exceptional experience from her years in other areas of public service. The request is that Ms. Burchett's salary be increased to the amount budgeted $71,441 for the remainder of 2022. This increase will not remain in effect for 2023 and therefore will not impact the 2023 budget. And that is because I agree with Chairman Deakins of the Budget and Finance Committee that the process and the procedures of the budget has started and therefore no new personnel requests will be made. I know that when we deal with human resources, just employees, there's always variables. And when you have variables, things are moving all the time. You can't help it. But then you have immutables. And I know that the Budget and Finance Committee likes immutables. They want columns and rows to add up, and they don't want a moving target. So we respect process and procedures that have been in place. I think they're very good procedures that we need to respect, and I, as personnel, will respect that. Judge Wood, thank you for being here. I do have a question regarding what is her current salary and what is the increase amount for the remainder of the year.
I didn't bring that. I don't have it
Okay.
in front of me.
Is that, and will it come out of your budget? Or
It's
is
already
it?
been.
It's already been budgeted?
Yes,
So that's
There
no
won't
new
be.
money to county general? We're
That's
not
correct.
asking for a budget increase?
that's correct.
Okay.
And one of the things I'll go ahead and share this, which is what you initially started talking about, which is this salary pay structure review. And what we'll find, and you'll find, and this is a struggle that I've had for 6 years in the county. We struggle with some of our particular hires across the board, not just in mine, but when I'm looking for a comptroller or HR director, and I'm looking for those requisite skills and qualifications, you can't find it just because of what the pay that we have, and because we're so far behind. When we've been about 10 years from adopting a pay structure, again, I'm an HR guy, and every year you do a study, and every year you adopt it, and or every 2 years, 3 years at the max. So you may not be at market, but you're at least 2 or 3 years closer to it, and you're not peeling off a real large Band-Aid trying to keep up with the market. We're pretty far behind when you start looking at 10 years of not adopting. And so when you get a comptroller with a CPA backdrop in 7 years, and you can't get anyone to apply, it's partly because of where we are when it comes to pay. Same thing when we looked at an attorney or the HR director. So this is part of some of that, and hopefully as we look to adopt this pay structure piece, is to come up with some kind of system that allows you as JPs to say, you know what, every year when Johansson comes in and or HR presents a pay structure market study, we can say, yep, we're going to adopt it. 2 years from now, we'll adopt it again, or every year we'll adopt it. So it keeps us not being at market, but relatively close to the market. And that keeps us being competitive when you start looking to attract and retain some of your employees. So,
Okay. Do I have any questions for Judge Wood? I have Justice Rios Stafford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually just saw Mr. Lester walk in, so he might be able to answer some of the number questions that we have.
remember, what was the pay? What's the pay differential between what it is and what it's going to? I'll take another one.
Okay.
Any other one, Deacon? I'm sorry.
I think it's about $8,000 difference.
8,000.
Okay.
I don't have the exact number, but
And this is within your budget, so it's already budgeted?
That's
You have
correct.
room for that
Yes.
in your
yeah, that was
budget?
actually budgeted to 78,000. So it's less than it's going down.
It's mid-range?
Yes.
And you, as part of our JSAP process, you can't bring someone in that you have to come back in and ask that. And so, again, I think with this new pay structure, it allows the elected officials some flexibility. So if someone's coming in, say, out of school with no experience with a degree, they may be able to start at that lower end versus someone who's got the requisite years of experience and the degree and the certification as a CPA or a comptroller or HR certifications, et cetera. So is that?
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Regarding the, is there any other discussion? Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion to pass this budget, the salary increase. Do I have a second? And I have a second. Is there any public comment? Seeing there's none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This motion carries. Okay, moving on to the Salary Administration Plan, and I'm going to ask Director Patty Burchett, Sydney Reynolds, if they would come to the microphone, I have seen this presentation, and I'm very enthusiastic about it because there are mechanisms in there that will help keep us competitive in the market. Good afternoon.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight about this proposal. I would like to start by first saying I think that we can all agree that we have wonderful, competent employees in the county, and we would like to retain that talent. The Quorum Court has passed many positive ordinances over the years, 2 of which include the Sheriff's Department Salary Flex Plan and the more recent Roads Department STEP program. We are here tonight to ask for your support and consideration of a program that will provide pay increases as well as ongoing compensation plan that will enable Washington County to remain competitive in the market for years to come. The proposal before you was a team effort prepared based on hours of research where we compared Washington County to Benton County. From this, we discovered that we are approximately 16.5% behind Benton County overall for their 2022 pay structure. The method we used to prepare the proposal before you was done by grouping similar positions and departments with those in Benton County. Keep in mind that these are 2022 numbers for Benton County. Based on those figures, we then added a 10.8% COLA, which is in alignment with what our current road department step plan is requesting for 2023. After reviewing the comparison with Blair Johansson, it was determined that this is comparable to what Johansson Group would have recommended. From there, in order to maintain the structure, what we then did is so our employees would not lose any type of previous merit, COLAs, or anything that they had earned through the course of their employment. We took a variance from their current minimum in our current salary administration program to where they're at to help maintain the structure. And so once we got them adjusted to the new proposed grade structure, we added that to their compensation to maintain the structure. So everyone wasn't basically starting back at their minimum of their new grade. And I think that pretty much explains the method by which we went through to compare the study to Benton County.
Can you put, what do you have available? Page, let's just go with after page 8, page 9, and then the proposed grades.
That one. Right
That
there,
one.
Myra. So on here, you will see our current grades at Washington County, which start with a 6 and end at a 29. And you'll see the min, mid, and max. So all we did was take Benton County's, which are the 3 middle columns, that's their current min, mid, and max for 2022, and we correlated that to keep our positions within the same ranges. And then we took that 2022 structure and applied that 10.8 COLA to get us to where we would be at market.
Okay.
Is there any questions?
It is
Oh.
higher, it was brought up. It's higher than Benton County, correct?
For 2022, yes, but I do know that Benton County is currently working on an overall overall study for them as well, and so they will be implementing something different for 2023. So we're already below Benton County's 2022, so this is to get us up to where they're at and then also compensate us for also a COLA going into the 2023 year, which 10.8 COLA is what the expected federal is right now. And since we did know that Rhodes was asking for that to be implemented against their step plan, we were asking for the same thing to kind of try and keep everything very similar in that sense.
Okay. I'd also like to, I outlined the objectives of this proposal and then the compensation objective. And that was to organize all the county employee positions is what you all have successfully done. And then in the objective of the compensation plan, and you can find this on page 1, is to provide a systematic procedure for classifications and compensations of employees. Right now, we don't have that organization, do we?
No. So that is one of the goals of this, is to be able to maintain proper classification of our employees, whether it be through reevaluating them through their job descriptions, as well as on-the-job interaction with their elected official or their direct supervisors, and obtaining that information and using that to determine the appropriate figures in addition to based on market values. So it's a cohesive process. It's not just one formula. You know, there's different variables that come into play whenever you determine that. And so that is the objective. One of the objectives of this plan is to enable elected officials to be able to do that for their departments, to create that competitive pay. Because I don't know about all of you, but I don't know fully what the assessor department does. I don't really know what fully the circuit clerk does. You know, those individuals, those electeds over those departments know more about them than I do even. And so they should be able to have that fluidity to some extent to determine what the appropriate compensation is for that, you know, position within reason, you know, within the structure. So long as it's not completely out there. Of course, we can't pay everybody, you know, $150,000 a year or anything like that. But that is the goal of this, is to be able to give that transparency and to be able to allow those elected officials to be able to do that themselves as well.
Now, in 3.2, the preparation and maintenance of a classification plan, which is found on page 1, you as a human resource director shall prepare and administer a classification plan for the county. Explain your part or HR's role in administering this plan.
Okay.
Is it going to be easier? Is it going to be a complicated plan? Are there many steps?
Okay. So HR's role in maintaining this compensation plan will be, previous to this, we had Johansson Group, who was great, and they had a program called DB Squared, and that is where we put all of our job descriptions through, and it gave us a job valuing number, which basically was a grade. And so we will still utilize that software. Johansson Group has retired and sold out to a different subsidiary company, I believe is what you call it. And so they no longer will be the ones actually doing that process for us. It will be in-house. It will be HR doing that. So whenever electeds or department heads come to HR with their revised job descriptions, and we would hope that based on this plan structure, that would be done annually during budget season. We would then reevaluate those positions and put forth a request to regrade them within the structure. And then it would be considered through budgetary time, like through budget season. So that would be HR's role. And then also guiding department heads and electeds through the process of writing a job description and structuring it in a way that is friendly to read and comprehend. Streamline it, yes. So that we have more of a consistent method in place across the workforce. So that would be HR's role. The education, the support, and then actually physically submitting that job description, that prepared job description through that job valuing software, whether it be DB Squared or something different in the future. Okay. Any other questions?
Do I have any questions for? I have Justice Willie Lemming.
Whenever you say, thank you, Chair. Whenever you say that it's comparable with Benton County, is the minimum comparable or the maximum comparable?
For the Benton County ranges, the ones in the center?
No, one's on the
it's not up
very
there
end, the
anymore. I'm
minimum
sorry.
max, and, because there's a big difference between some of these, it's 40 and you go plumb to 60.
Do you mean the ones onto the far right of the page? The ones with the new grades listed
Proposed
next to
grade
them?
ranges for 2023. There's some, you know, it says, sorry, I can't see real good. I didn't bring my glasses, didn't bring them with
That's
me.
okay. The ones
The
that
three
are next to
columns.
the new grades?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the minimum is like 36,000, and then you go over here to maximum's 55,000. So is the minimum comparable or the maximum comparable?
The whole entire structure is comparable because those three middle columns, those are 2022 Benton County, and all we did was apply a 10.8 COLA to those.
Okay,
So that's what you're seeing to your right.
yep, okay. How much does this impact the budget for 2023 from 2022?
Okay. Those numbers should be in your packet, and I believe that was, so overall with the budget, if you're looking at percentages, personnel section would be at 55.74% if you implemented this program. And that's without all of the extra requests from what has been explained to me for the general fund.
Okay, 55.4%, that's how much money?
55.74%.
Okay.
Of total.
That's the percentage total for the entire personnel section. That includes your retirement costs, all of it. Anything that salaries would affect, that is included in that percentage.
Okay, so do we have a total number of dollars?
Dollars, yes. I do have that. Let me get that. Thank you. The total number with the study is $53,452,384. Whereas right now we're at $50,709,257. So there's a difference of about 2.7 million increase overall for the personnel section.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having that information available, because I had asked her to do percentages and numbers. I have Justice Rio Stafford.
Thank you. I think it's a good start that we've based this on Bentonville's numbers and then added a cost of living. I have a couple questions about that. Do we know what Bentonville used to get their numbers? Did they base it on, other counties, what we were doing, the private sector? How did they come up with theirs that we're basing ours on?
Yes, ma'am. So they use Johansson Group. They had Johansson Group under their umbrella as well. They had a contract with them. So Johansson Group is actually the one who prepared their 2022 figures. So we basically took what the Johansson Group had prepared for them in 22 and added a COLA to it.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then going forward after 2023, it sounds like we're going to kind of use the software that they'd still created for us and do it that way, or are we going to continue to base it off of Benton County's numbers?
We would like to be independent and take this program and use the rules and have software support of whatever, like I said, whether it be DB squared or some other similar software that's affordable, and use that to help us manage the program for job ratings. But we would like to be self-sufficient. That's the goal.
Gotcha.
Within the controls or in the rules that were written in the policy, it does say to help maintain the structure going forward, it will move 3% on either side if budget allows for it. So that will help maintain the structure going forward. So hopefully we're not having to do a complete overhaul in a year or 2 years. Now, you can never plan for market jumps. We experienced that this year and a little bit last year. So, we may have to revisit a complete overhaul if that was to happen. Let's hope that that doesn't happen, and 3% is good enough to help maintain the structure going forward. There's some other great features within the policy that I think will enable us to help attract talent and retain the talent that we have. being able to provide proposal or performance increases annually, merit increases throughout the year, longevity pay, and all of that comes into play if this program passes. And I think that will really allow our employees to see that, you know, there's room to grow, and Washington County is the place that they want to work. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, it
Okay.
did. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I have Justice Deakins.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Few questions for the layman. What COLA rate are we using? You know, when I go search out the COLA rate, the federal COLA rate, seems to be a loaded term. I mean, there's lots of different, Social Security Administration puts out a COLA rate. I mean, what definite COLA rate are we pinpointing in this administration of salaries?
It's the expected overall COLA. So if you look it up on the, I don't know what, I think it's DFNA, I want to say. And I will say that the federal expected COLA does shift from month to month. So it may have been 10.8 3 months ago, but it may have dropped. So there's multiple different COLAs. So I believe what they are looking at, or what we looked at, is the 2023 cost of living adjustment, which takes into account all Medicare, Social Security. It's they have their own overall, they take an average of the three, and that's where that came from. So right now it is at a flat 10%, it looks like, as of today.
I think it'd be very important that we define what that number is
Okay.
and when we take that number out.
Okay.
Because one of the major frustrations I've had is we get politicians in the middle of these compensation talks, right? And things can go haywire to the detriment of the employee, right? But if we have that specific definition every year, we all agree. I don't know what that is. I'm kind of trusting you guys to help me.
Right.
But if we're going to take that COLA adjustment every year and build it into our thing, I think into our salary administration, I think that's a great benefit. So that we don't get up here arguing, or people 5 years from now about what we actually meant by the COLA. And I'd like to see that too. The other major concern I have about this is I want to see this COLA number that we're using over the last 10 or 15 years. Because I understand that, inflation's very high right now. We're in a weird, difficult part of our country's history. But if we have 3 or 4 years of 10% COLA adjustments every year, that's really going to throw this thing, you can see the runaway train. That's what I'm saying. And I think I want this to be sustainable for the employees of Washington County. I want to invest in them, and I want them to see this range and know that if they both have time of service and merit, they can see where they're going. They're not coming here every year and having us at whatever whim we have as a quorum court being self-critical here. You know what it is.
Right.
And so I want them to be able to see that and lay that out.
Okay.
But also, what is the control mechanisms to where if we get to where this is getting to be too budget critical, how do we back this off?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So let me start by saying the 10.8 is just for this first time, because that is to get us up to where we need to be with market.
Yeah, and I'd like
going. Yeah. So,
I'm sure that 10.8 COLA adjustment is probably kind of an anomaly. I mean, I don't think it. I don't think
that's not very common. It's not very common. So
yes,
this is because through the years there has not been a
Excuse
significant
me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to show respect to one of our justices, can we have you all speak one at a time? That would be greatly appreciated.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Justice Deakins.
I think she's.
Okay, Ms. Burchett?
I'm sorry. Yes. So I forgot where I was at now.
I think we were going down the track of what's the control mechanism if we have 3 years of 10.8% hypothetically, and it's, we're putting the county as a whole in a budget situation that's detrimental. How do we peel this back? I guess maybe what I'm asking is, what is the mechanism of the COLA adjustment? Will the elected officials every year build that into their budget, or what we would approve that as a quorum court, or how does that work in your mind, do you think?
Right. Okay. So a COLA is written into this compensation program already where this structure will move 3% every year. So you don't give the COLA to the individual, you give it to the structure because that helps maintain it. And so the employees are experiencing, in addition to the structure shifting 3% every year, that's where they're experiencing their longevity or their merit or their performance evaluation increases. So you only apply the COLA to the structure. Now, in doing so, we will have to look at where the employees are within their ranges to maintain that competitive pay, so they're not losing their merit that they've earned over the years and their longevity and things like that. So I definitely would not recommend doing a 10% COLA every year. That would not be what I would suggest because eventually you're going to be upside down. You're not going to be able to afford it.
Right.
So the mechanism that I would say would be in place if we look up and we're like, oh my goodness, we can't afford that increase this year. It would be to the quorum court to decide, okay, instead of doing a 3%, even though it does say it in the policy, this year we're going to go ahead and dial that back to a 2% or a 1.5% or something like that. And since that's passed by ordinance, from what I understand, that would be the correct way to do that. It doesn't change the policy. It's still there for the next year. But for that 1 year, we had to kind of be better, stewards. Well, that's the wrong way to put that, but we were... I don't know. We looked at the money and it just wasn't there, so we adjusted as such.
Gotcha.
So we would amend the budget process is what we would do. If I may say, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I asked Treasurer Bobby Hill if he would run the overall personnel budget for me in percentages. What was the total personnel percentage of the budget? And he did it going back to 2017, 18, 19, and 20, 21. And it was anywhere between 55 to 59% of total budget. So I asked him, I said, if I can stay within 60% of the total budget revenues, how am I doing on personnel? He said, if you can do that, you'll be successful. You're doing a good job. So that is our target. If we can stay within that, and if this structure starts moving above the 60% of revenue, then that's when we're going to have to adjust the budget for that. But that was going to be our leading indicator. Where are we as far as total revenue, and where are we in the budget process? And it's good for future budget and finance committee members to realize that is our target to keep this county in good shape as far as personnel. Does that answer your question? No.
Yeah, I don't think I asked that question, but
Okay.
it's
Anyway,
great information.
But that, if we need to dial it back, if we're
Yeah.
65, 70%, we're going to have to dial it back that much
Yeah,
and stay within that within that percentage.
yeah. So that's why you were saying, it makes sense now that you were saying that the 10% is a big jump to get into the program. But you're saying the 10% and moving forward to 3% are the same, essentially the same number.
Yes.
So that you're saying incrementally from now on, that's kind of a built-in control, and then we could even adjust that, fine-tune if we want to.
Yes.
Okay. Another question for you, going back to, like, how do we do this, you're saying you're going to review job descriptions and things like that every year. That seems pretty onerous to me. I mean, I think it'd be even good to do it every other year, whatever. I think that's something that we could cover. And this is more, I guess, of a comment, but I've seen it since I've been on the quorum court. I think it's very important for all of our elected officials to kind of buy into this program. We've seen it in our salary administration to where we're moving things onesies and twosies. And I think that causes a lot of problems in an overall county fairness of this employment structure, right? Because different roles kind of overlap, right? And so I'd really love to see some buy-in on this to say, we're going to move the county together as a whole. Does that, that makes sense? I would like to see our HR department really say, we're going to commit to this and move as a whole. Doesn't mean that there's special circumstances or something that need to be accommodated in terms of experience or whatever, and we can bring that person in. But it's very problematic for us to start, I think, once again, well, not start, we've moved people one at a time. and you move them in this office, and that can very much be seen as unfair to this person over here who says, well, my job's much like that. I have the same, you know what I mean? But it causes a lot of imbalance. And I think this, if I'm understanding it right, should solve some of that if we commit to it and move as a countywide system.
Correct. So what you're referring to is called compression, and that has occurred in this county, and that was revealed throughout this study that we did, that our job descriptions kind of support a compression environment, which we need to get away from that. We need to be able to have that competitive pay and maintain that structure within the departments. So I know that in the past with the program, employees' job descriptions were able to be re-rated by their elected, which is not a bad thing, because if the position takes on more liability or accountability within the workforce, they should be compensated as such. And typically, they're going to be moving up in the level and the chain of command within the department, so they should be compensated as such. What shouldn't be being allowed to happen, which kind of the direction we were going before, it made it very challenging to pinpoint when that was happening. When a lower, level position was being evaluated, and then it, may have been re-rated, and now it's right below the grade of its superior, or even maybe in the same grade. So that the potential for that was there with the process we were going through before. Yeah. So having an outside consultant come in even and observe our workforces and our different departments is something that is really a 2-year project. We can do that in-house, but I think to remove bias, thank you. I was going to say discrimination, but biased. It would be more prudent for us to do it that way. So that is a plan that through this process I have that I'm hoping that.
Because I know it never happens.
Yeah.
But people like to go in and change job descriptions a little bit to move this.
Well, and there's a formula,
That's
you
right.
can kind of figure out how to finagle it. So,
well,
yeah.
I'll finish with this. These numbers always give me heartburn, especially when we're in the middle of budget season. But I will, few observations I've had. We've done this at the detention center here recently, and I think the sheriff's told us that they've hired more people, and that's having an effect. I will say that we did this in the road department, and as of last week, administration's telling us we're fully staffed in the road department, which has been years that's never happened. So I completely, I'll share that, in search for certain jobs, we reach out to our networks and see if there's people there. Some of these leadership roles just aren't going to happen at the pay we are now. So I would also like to say let's make this happen by being frugal and rewarding our number one asset first. So thank you, Ms. Chairman, for letting me have the time.
Are there any other questions? I have J.P. Stafford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one thing I wanted to note. I think it's great to have targets for the future, but it's my understanding that we can't obligate future quorum courts to a certain percent of COLA or anything like that. The raises are always we can't predetermine raises for future years. We're just not allowed to do that. It's always subject to the quorum court budget approval, but it is good to have those targets. And having said that, definitely I too am in favor of getting our county folks up to at least close to market rate. We want to value our folks. We want to retain them. I think those are all, very important. So I think this is a really great proposal and definitely much needed. I'd like to see it eventually for every department, in our county. This is a good move, I think.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Burchett? I'm optimistic about this proposal.
Thank you.
I really am. Y'all did a fantastic job. Director Reynolds, you and your staff, Robert Voss, is just amazing. There was a lot of man hours that went into comparing Washington County, Fayetteville, and Bentonville. I think it was over 70 man-hours that Robert put in to come up with these numbers and come up with this formula and comparing everybody. And I want to give credit to whom credit is due. And the three of y'all worked together as a team and did an outstanding job. And I'd like to see this adopted for the next year.
Thank you. It was definitely a team effort. I could not have done it without our IT department.
Yes.
Yes, they have been wonderful, so.
And I
Thank
know
you,
that
Sydney.
Director Reynolds, we don't ever see you. You're always behind the camera in the other room, but the work that you do is evident. And everybody sees your work and they don't realize that it's you and your team behind it. So I want to give credit to you and your department. So thank you. Do I have any other comments? Is that done? So at present, I think this is just going to be for discussion and until we can get an ordinance. But reach out to them if you have any additional questions. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you all. Do I have any public comment? Seeing there's none, this meeting is adjourned.